Welcome back to the Aspire Higher podcast with Charles and Yvana Bailey. We're so glad that you decided to join us for, this is technically the first week because we're in a deep dive today.
Oh yes, I'm ready.
Yes, you are, girl.
Stay ready.
What they say? If you stay ready, you ain't got to get ready.
That's my quote.
Yeah, you've been saying that for a while.
I didn't trademark it, but I should have.
Yeah, I know, man. Sometimes that happens, right?
It's life.
Yeah,
Such is life.
Such is
Let's
life.
go.
But anyway, so before we go any further, while you're here, go ahead, hit that like button, subscribe, share, let your friends, your mama know, and mama and them, anybody you can think of, let them know that we are on. And please, by all means, follow us.
Yes.
We would love to have you embark on the rest of this journey.
Yes, and if we can help inspire you in any way, please feel free to check out our website. It is aspirehigherlife.com.
That's right.
Book a call. We would love to talk with you about your goals, any struggles even, and help you get to a better purpose.
Yeah, all right. So we were talking a while ago, you and I were discussing the fact that there's so many things that happen in life and in the presence of like every day in business or sport, or if you're a high achiever or someone who's like trying to pursue for something.
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of people struggle internally, right? There's this thing on the inside that many of us don't talk about in our aspirations.
Right.
What was that? Do you remember what we were talking about?
So a couple of things. First, there could be problems with your potential.
Yeah.
Whether you get the new job, whether you've been in it forever, whether you feel like a fraud at your job, which is something to point to because that involves impostor syndrome.
Yeah. Yeah.
We had quite a few conversations about that. And it's something that I think we should talk about today because it is a real problem. It's a real phenomenon, psychological phenomenon that people go through and are kind of hiding in their turtle shell, but need help, coming out of that.
Yeah. So if you can gather anything from that, what we're getting ready to do is take our first deep dive into one of the things that really is a plague for high achievers, performers, professional athletes, anyone who's truly trying to do something great. And that is that feeling of low self-worth or lost identity, or worse, feeling like you're not the person that deserves what it is you're actually after.
That's right.
Right?
That's right. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And it's funny because we like to call this potential problems.
Right.
Because everyone has great potential to do something amazing.
Right.
But problems can arise because of that potential.
Yes.
And in our book, we literally call them potential problems.
That's right.
Yeah. You were saying that there was a story. I remember you went and you were doing a presentation, or you were with your team. You do global presenting. Some people don't know this about you. But you said that there was a friend that was there with you. And I think something happened about, food, or there was a buffet. And it was like there was this dichotomy or this split between here she is on this level. Right. And then there's a VP or something. I don't remember. Tell that story really quick if you don't mind.
So I was amidst some high-level executives, and there is a formality, of course, while eating, and even on set and acting, there's a formality of who eats first and vice versa. So with all respect, did what I was supposed to do. And there was a whole bunch of leftovers. And if you don't know me, my love language is food.
It's food, man.
Like, let's be real. It's my passion.
Like
it lights me up. Like, it's lighting me up right now.
Yeah.
And while I was at this event, of course, you go through hours of presentations. You're sitting there. You're hungry. You're ready to eat, right? So as we're ready to eat, I remember being told by not the people at the level that they were on, but but by the people that were around us, that hey, you probably shouldn't go get seconds. You probably shouldn't take any food out. And I'm like, who probably shouldn't? Because I am. Like, what are you talking about?
Sure.
So long story short, I just kind of waited out. One of the last people to get a second round, right?
Okay.
One of the VPs.
Okay.
She begins to go get her plate. But she already had like 5. She goes get her plate, starts packing to go like it's nothing, and walks out. And I see her and we start sparking up conversation. She's like, don't tell anyone, but I got my lunch for the week. And I'm like, so sometimes in life, somebody might suggest to you, I don't think you should do this.
Yeah.
I wouldn't do this. 99% of the things that they tell me, I end up doing because it's something that they're not comfortable with, but I'm comfortable with.
Yeah.
I like to do things afraid, and I like to do it right then, there, and now.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
It's one of those things where it's like, you can't just let the voice of someone else cripple you, or the fear of what are they going to think, because the people on that level, they're doing it anyway.
Yeah,
so what difference does it make?
Sure. I think that's what I was getting at, is because there was this moment where, and I'm trying to tie it back to imposter syndrome, but in her mind, she saw herself on a certain level.
Of course.
And that mentality on the inside said she wasn't worthy
Right.
of feeding herself. They pay for your hotel, they're paying for your meal. You
Yes.
guys they're rolling the red carpet out
Yes.
for you. But in her mind, she's more focused on what anyone else and everyone
Perception.
else would think about
Right.
her if she got something to eat. I mean, like, you're
That's
hungry.
right.
So even to that degree, that's how serious
Yes.
this syndrome
Oh, yes.
can go.
Oh, yes.
Because it's not just about feeling like you don't belong,
Right.
which we're going to talk about, because there's a battle
Right.
that we go through all the time between
Right.
belief and belonging.
That's right.
But sometimes she, like in that moment, didn't see that she belonged already.
You're already at the table.
She was they had
That's
set
right.
the table for her.
That's right.
And some of us miss it
Mhm.
in the moment.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
There are times where some of the greatest people in this world, legends, I mean, they share their own story. Their narrative is, I had sabotaged the moment.
Yeah.
I knew the moment was made for me. It was groomed for me. I'd worked all these years and I finally get it. And then I sabotage it because I didn't feel worthy.
Yep.
I had misplaced identity.
Yeah.
I wasn't sure if I should take the shot.
They believe other people deserve it and not them. And it's interesting because in our book, one of the things we talk about is belonging is believing.
That's right.
And so that's the dichotomy between belief and belonging. She didn't
Right.
believe that was for her, even though it was for her.
I did.
And so she had to
Yes.
hide into this thought of, well, if I do this,
Yes.
they're going to perceive me as less.
Right. Right.
Impostor syndrome.
That's right.
And,
Yeah.
and that's just
That's it.
another form of that. But
Right.
Nelson Mandela said, one cannot be prepared for something while secretly believing it will not happen. And we wrote, you will never take hold of your determined destination while holding on to the belief that you're not worthy of the power or possibility of your potential.
Come on.
And that's why I wanted you to tell
good
that
stuff.
story. I know it kind of seemed for a second like it was a stretch, but that's a true sentiment. She didn't see herself as worthy.
Right.
But the senior VP didn't care
No.
and could have cared
Laughed it off.
and likely would not have cared any less.
No.
So she got herself something to eat.
That's right.
In that moment.
That's right.
Yeah. So that's just something I think is very important. You ever heard of Maslow's hierarchy of needs?
Tell me about it.
Well, essentially Maslow, psychologist, and he came up with this thought that we have these bases of needs that span all the way from psychological and emotional, and then, of course, our higher self or transcendence.
Right.
But right smack dab in the middle is that need for belonging.
Oh, yes.
And so what happens is if we don't feel like we belong, going back to that story you just told, what we'll do is we'll put ourselves lower than what we already are.
Correct.
And so we'll miss that we are actually already allowed to belong and we don't need anyone's permission. That's what she was looking for, essentially.
That's right.
Looking for permission to take care of herself.
Basic needs.
Basic needs.
To survive a conference.
To survive
event,
a conference.
Whatever it is, yes.
And you were saying a while ago, you said something about like most high achievers have this thing.
Yes.
Was it like, you said, I think you used the word dirty little secret.
Oh, yes. It's a dirty little secret that it's an innate fear of performing on the outer, right? But being afraid, deathly afraid that they would be discovered as an imposter on the inside. Fraudulent. You know? It's not genuine, whatever the feeling is, whatever they reciprocate. And it's something that grips a lot of people, whether you're in athletics, business, entrepreneurship, parenting.
Yeah, sure.
I mean, anything. You can really apply imposter syndrome to a lot of different subgroups of people.
Yeah.
And it's something that we believe strongly you can combat. And we know for a fact that it's something that you don't have to let it debilitate you. It is there. It's good to be accountable. It is there to know that this is something that you need. Exactly. Be responsible in acknowledging it. But then after acknowledging it, we have to take steps to conquer that fear, because it's really rooted in fear and inadequacy and intimidation.
Yeah. And it's funny because now that we're stepping more into the conversation, there's this thing with high performers, people who are professional athletes even, or executives in business, where they feel like they're flying by the seat of their pants.
Yeah.
They feel like, as you said, at any point in time, the deck of cards, will come falling or crashing down. And they'll be exposed.
That's right.
And in our business, we deal with a lot of clients that people wouldn't even believe that someone who plays on the NFL or someone who's in the major leagues, they deal with that because their identity was wrapped in their sport.
That's right.
So they're really performing this character of themselves.
That's right.
But their real selves is always feeling like at any moment this could come crashing down, because if anyone knew who I really was, they wouldn't like me, or they would never choose this version of me over the athletic me or the CEO.
Yeah.
If I am in a position of power and people see that I like Doritos and Cheetos, or I know I'm making this up, but the point I'm making is for whatever reason, because it goes really deep, we lose confidence in who we are.
That's right.
Because we put it into this identity that's a separate character of who we are, just like wrestling, professional wrestling. You know what I mean?
Of course.
Yeah.
And the problem with that is that you've boxed it.
Yeah.
You have taken something that could be beautiful, because there is a humility behind, I think, imposter syndrome. There's a small humility of, I may not really have it all together. I may present perfectionism, because that is a subgroup inside imposter syndrome.
I'm glad you said that.
Needs to be talked about as well. And there's a time and a place for everything in life. Perfectionism, I believe, can really lead down to a rabbit hole and start to kill some things on the inside that were meant to bear fruit.
Absolutely.
And we have to be very careful with those trees that we are growing in our inner lives and our inner selves. But with that, I've worked with high-level executives as well and CEOs, and it's been very interesting to see that they can present one way, especially athletics too.
Yeah.
You present something, right? You are presenting a narrative that you want people to buy into.
Right.
You want people to believe that you are the top, you are the best, you are whatever it is. However, who sits with them when they're in tears at night?
Yeah, man.
When they're crying because they don't feel like they're enough.
Right.
They feel inadequate.
Yeah.
Who calls them? Who checks on them? Always be mindful that because you present one thing, there's always two sides to that thing.
Always two sides to the
Always
coin.
two sides to it. And don't ever look at someone and say, oh, they got it all together. They're fine. I don't need to contact them, touch up. You would be surprised the conversations I have with high-level executives, CEOs, entrepreneurs. It doesn't even matter. Athletes, especially athletes, because anybody that is put on a pedestal very high, you have to understand, it only takes a split second to get canceled, or even a split second for them to fall.
Yeah. Yeah.
Who's there to pick them up?
Yeah, I understand.
That's why in our business, we have really set out for key moments of life to help pick people up, help them rebirth, help them restart,
to
help
really
them
define their purpose,
and know that their purpose is not wrapped
it's
in
not
the
in their
position.
Performance. Nope.
It's not in their performance. It's not on the court. It's not. I mean, that's the hardest thing to really get someone to understand, but it's a beautiful thing when they do understand it, because they see it's bigger than them. And there's no bondage there.
Yes.
It's nothing but freedom. It's nothing but liberty.
And they can aspire higher.
That's right.
Because what most people don't recognize is who they are meant to be is greater than what they're currently doing.
Correct.
And that is the essence of what we want to crash and crush in this imposter syndrome.
Yes.
But I have some stats. I think it'd be interesting to read them.
Please
I was
share.
doing some reading, and Forbes had this article they published that said about 65% of all women experience imposter syndrome to some degree. And there's different levels, of course. And what's interesting is that Psychology Today says 70% of all professionals, no matter what they are actually involved in, have or do feel or at times go through imposter syndrome. And this is the most amazing, and I think it'd be a great point to converse about, statistic that I'm going to say, is high achievers, though, are a little different.
Okay.
About 25 to 30% of people who are declared high achievers actually go through imposter syndrome. And that means if they're already doing great and they have a reduced chance of going through imposter syndrome, one, it's because they have higher level of confidence.
Of course, absolutely.
But what do you think happens when they go through it?
Oh, it's even worse. It's even worse in that population.
And that's the population that we focus on.
Yes.
Because those are the ones that go in the deep, dark recesses.
We've seen documentaries. We've heard the stories. We know that.
They're like, what happened to this guy? Everything was good. I mean, billionaire, he's gone.
It's still a picture.
Yeah.
There's still two sides to that story.
Yeah, man. And you said something earlier that was really amazing. You were talking about perfectionism.
Yes.
That's typically at the root, and that is a trigger.
Yeah.
So what I was finding is that there's some triggers that will bring this out of us,
Right.
inclusively, right? And that is a lot of times we feel this when we have some award. We've been recognized for some achievement.
Very true.
For instance, like taking tests. You think about people who are doctors or
Right.
lawyers. They pass the bar. They pass their exams
Right.
or certification. And yet they struggle the most to feel like they're adequate and that they can do what they have studied and put all their life into
Yes.
to do.
Yeah.
Because that is almost like, in fact, I'm gonna be honest with you. I've shared this with you many times before, even what we do. There are times when I've had to wrestle with that myself because I have 3 degrees. I have 2 master's degrees. And I used to be in this thinking, I need more. I got to get another degree. I need another. And I love achievement and I love learning. You know that about me.
Of course.
But sometimes you get this feeling of like, at any moment, I got to be prepared. So you remember I was a part of a fraternity. And one of the things that we used to talk about is being charged up. So when you cross, what you were preparing yourself for is if someone saw you on the street and you claim to be a part of this sorority or fraternity, the Divine Nine, whatever it is, they could ask you a question that tests your knowledge.
Okay.
And if you didn't have the answer, they can take something that was on you. Your jacket, if it was paraphernalia because you didn't really
represent
and reflect the knowledge.
Right.
And I remember that stuck with me. And I think that it caused a great level of trauma in me because I constantly felt that way, even about my knowledge today. I put hours and hours and hours into studying and prepping with my clients and helping them. And I still felt like at any moment, someone's going to ask me, what is E equals MC squared? And if I didn't have the answer, so you're not an expert.
But what makes you, how does that nullify all the work that you built up
And it doesn't.
towards? It doesn't. And there's a level of grace that's got to be given.
Yeah, to yourself.
I mean, if you honestly have ever felt inadequate, less than, intimidated by your own measure of success that you built for yourself, give yourself grace.
That's right.
Understand that this is something that a lot of people, as you even heard statistically, go through. You're not alone in the battle.
You're not.
However, you do have responsibility in the battle.
Yes, you do.
You have a responsible part of saying, you know what? I know this about me. It could have been passed down. That's another thing
that
we talk
very
about,
true. We
generational.
talk about it in the book.
But the accountability is still on you.
Yeah.
And with that, where in my life can I add grace to myself?
Yeah.
Where in my life, in my thoughts, how I speak to people, even micromanaging is a subset of perfectionism. How can I micromanage a little bit less and trust my team a little bit more?
That's right.
How can I stop talking this way to my cohorts, to my family even? Because a lot of the times they're the ones that receive the brunt of our pressures in life, our stress and our struggle. But it doesn't always have to be like that. So I think this week, we would hope that you would recondition your mind, reposition your thoughts to giving yourself permission to get grace in your life, embrace grace, because you deserve that.
Yeah, and you already belong.
That's right.
And like you said, the moment you asked me that question, you're like, what does that have to do with all the years and time you've put in to become what you are?
That's right.
Nothing.
So
I already belong.
That's right.
The problem is we don't believe it.
Yeah. The belief system.
Belief systems can support us or they can crush us.
Yes, they can.
And I remember hearing one person say some belief systems are believing the lie and creating a system. Because it's the lies we tell ourselves that will cause us to minimize ourselves.
That's right.
Even though everyone accepts us where we are, we don't always accept ourselves. And perfectionism, as we're kind of branching off into that, it's interesting because there's 2 schools of thoughts about perfectionism.
Okay.
Some people believe that it's better to be over-prepared. And the problem with over-preparation is typically there's this overthinking. I remember even with speeches or even this podcast, sometimes I can get so wrapped up into what we're really wanting to communicate as opposed to just being free to communicate.
Right.
And I think that many people walk in that. Have you ever experienced that or seen that?
Of course. And like you said, high level achievers like ourselves, we still feel, we still go through the normal, but we're just free to talk about it.
Yeah.
And we're free to help and inspire others to elevate your thinking, to know and recognize that, something could be wrong. But what tools do we have to fix that? What tools do we have to elevate our mindset, you know? And speaking of that perfectionism, there is a true innate natural sense where, yes, we want to be approved.
Yeah.
We want to be validated, if that makes sense. And sometimes others can seek harm to try to get in a sense, you know what I'm saying?
In a sense, right.
They level up, stand on someone else's shoulders. But if you're truly confident in who you are, you don't need to hurt another person. You don't need to hurt another business. You just need to develop skills within yourself to say, I am great at this, 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 and this.
Yeah.
And these are the things I'm not great at. So I'm going to hire this. I'm going to ask support for this and learn that everybody needs community.
Yeah.
Everybody needs a village. You try to raise a child by yourself and someone has, congratulations, we appreciate you. But the truth is the system of community is strong when there's presence in numbers. So with that, learn to make mistakes.
Accept mistakes.
Learn to accept that, hey, I made a mistake.
Yeah.
I know some speakers that they made a mistake and that's
and that's all they think about, right, on the stage. You're like, bro, no one even noticed that.
And we'll seek further credibility or validation in the comment section of the preaching. In the stage director, did I do good? If you have to ask someone, did you do good?
Then you missed the point.
You're missing the point and you're missing the moment because someone could have heard you way in the back of that sanctuary, theater, stage, whatever it is.
The worst point you made could have been the best point
ever
to them in their life.
So don't take yourself too seriously, I think I'm trying to say.
I think that's true.
Give yourself more grace and learn that it's okay to make a mistake. Yeah. It's okay. And you don't have to hide at night in the shame and the guilt because it will cripple you.
Well, even to the second point of the schools of thought, right? Well, then if that's one side of it, the contrary is there's some people, and I seem to be of this one at least, is that it's better to get things done than to see them be perfected. Like some people won't move if it's not perfect.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
But it's better to be done than to be done perfect.
Right.
Because I can improve. But if it's got to be perfect before I do it, odds are I'm not going to move.
You're not going to move.
And worse, it's subjective.
Yes.
I'm looking and trying to create the standard of perfection when no one else is looking for that standard of perfection in me.
That's right. And that could, yes, I know exactly what you're talking about.
And I end up creating the problem for myself. And you may be doing the same thing.
Right.
You may be thinking that as you ascend in your career or in the sport, or you think that now I have this position and everyone's looking for me to be perfect. One, it doesn't exist.
Right.
And it didn't exist. And that's not what got you there. If you're really honest with yourself, what got you there was who you were.
Yes.
Whether it was the work, the dedication, the focus, ethics, or how you treated people.
Yes.
So go back to who you are at your core.
That's right.
That would be the first encouragement. Yeah. And it's funny because we were just referencing athletes and CEOs, but so many people with positions of power struggle more. And that was one of the things that I wanted to make sure that we really tackled.
Right.
Some people at the highest level of where they are struggle the most.
Absolutely.
And I think they struggle the most because they put themselves at the top in their mind and forgot that they're a part of a community
exactly
from the beginning.
That's right. That's right. That's right.
And they're missing the point of why they're at the top.
Of course. And looking at aviation and looking at flight, when you're in the air and you're with the clouds, that's very high up elevation, right? But you don't see as clearly ground level.
Yeah.
I can't see if I'm, taking a flight and I'm trying to look and try to find my house. I probably can't.
Yeah, 30,000 feet up. Yeah.
30,000 feet up. So is that any different when you have an elevated person, right?
Yeah.
That knew who they were, knew what they wanted to be, and fought to get their way and finally made it. But it's almost like they forgot the core value of who they really are at the bottom. Because at the core of who they were, they probably set out to always help people and been intentional about that, but somehow lost that vision the higher they got.
And that's what happens. And in fact, your analogy was perfect because when you get that high up, you lose sight of the ground level, which is why you've got to bring people with you.
Yes. Yes.
That will keep you from that imposter syndrome. I don't think people set out to get to a level where they lose themselves.
Right.
That's what we found. No one just wants to go so high up that they're isolated.
Right.
But that's what ends up happening.
Mm-hmm.
So the answer to that is to bring people there. Bring people with you.
That's right.
Help other people ascend.
That's right.
And if you get there, give them an example so they can aspire higher, so they can want to become more. Don't be the person that says, this is my airspace. I'm the only person that belongs up here. Because when you run out of fuel, and you run out of all those relationships,
who's there to help?
Forget help. When you're on your way down, no one will be there. That's true. Even worse.
That's very true.
Yeah.
Very true. And we need people.
Yeah. Absolutely.
To thrive, you need community. I mean, it is what it is.
Yeah.
So be very intentional, because we have some entrepreneurs that have not been there yet. They have not seen the climactic part of their life come to fruition yet.
Yeah.
But we hope that you know that during that journey, always stay close to the people around you that you can trust, who believe in you and want to see you succeed and excel. And to those that have already made it, be cautious of how you treat the people that were always with you from day one, especially the day oneers.
Yeah.
Remember them, honor them, respect them, because at the end of the day, you still will need help. Doesn't matter how high you get. We need each other. We need community.
But that goes back to the beginning of the show. If we're always looking for belonging,
right,
and they're rejecting the circles or the people who have accepted us from the beginning,
right,
then we're losing the very thing we're after.
That's
it's
right.
like I'm chasing it up here, and the higher you go up, there's less. Why don't I just stay connected with the people?
That's right.
And help them ascend higher so we can all be up here.
That's right.
And we could change the game. We can change the way it goes and flows and the flight.
Yeah.
But that's great, because I think that's good. And we're talking to the high achievers. But what about the people who've never been there?
Right.
You know how many people, just like the example, and that's why I wanted you to tell that story. I know some people are probably thinking, where does that story with the food tie in again? Because some people are hungry listening to this right now.
I'm always hungry.
Like, that's what
I won't eat right
now. But
the
reason why you told that story too is because she didn't see herself the level that she thought other people were on.
That's right.
And so there's so many people that sabotage their blessing. They sabotage their greatest influence and their greatest impact because they don't believe that they belong.
That's right.
Belonging, simply put, is believing.
Yes.
If you believe that you belong, then you belong there.
Trust me.
And that's the level of confidence that we want to instill in you.
That's right.
You belong wherever you are.
That's right.
Wherever you are, you exist. And you have the authority and the permission to take up space. You have the authority and permission to make relationships, to make moves, challenge yourself. What we call this in our book is put yourself in propulsive position.
That's right.
That means at any point in time, you're not waiting on someone else to say, okay, go.
No.
This is your moment. Take it.
That's right.
I remember when I was in ministry, I learned this incredible lesson, and I'll try my best not to botch this quote, but the point will be the same. It is better to ask forgiveness than it is to ask permission. Because if your intentions are good, or if you're sincerely wanting the best for your community, your company, your family, go for it.
That's right.
I would rather much say, well, at least I really gave it my all, than sit down and say, man,
no regrets. That's right.
What if I had given it my all?
Or what if I just tried?
What if I had just tried?
I was speaking with an executive, and there was a moment for her to share her story, for her to just show up in the room, share her story, and let it be that. It was kind of like a formal introduction to a group. And I'll never forget, she pulled me to the side after I had done mine, everybody did theirs. And she said, I want to work with you. And I said, why? She said, because I cut myself short. I didn't know how to present who I am to others because of fear of this, because of intimidation. And I said, well, who asked you to think that far? And she said, what do you mean? I said, just show up. You already here. Just express and expound upon who you are, and let the weight of who you are be left in the room. She's like, I never heard of that. And I said, well, that's what I do. I help people to make an entrance when they're in the room.
Yeah.
Leave a lasting impression and make an unforgettable exit.
Yeah.
And with that confidence coaching that I offer people, it is vital how you arrive in the room matters and what you say matters, but know that nobody's looking for you to say anything special.
Yeah.
Just be genuine, be who you are,
Authentic
and arrive
self.
with grace. So, nobody wants somebody puffed up coming in the room talking
Yeah.
about all their just be who you are.
Yeah.
Be who you are.
In fact, that's the greatest expression of confidence anyway. I don't need to speak for myself.
Oh, absolutely
You'll
not.
feel it.
Let the weight of who you are be present.
If you want to know, you can ask.
Ask about me.
And then when I answer, I'm not going to give you that much anyway, because
No.
I don't feel like going down that list of all these. Here's my website.
That's it. Book a call.
Book a call.
And that's it.
I remember when I used to coach you, and I used to have this quote that I always said to you. And I said, if people are watching, give them a show.
That's right.
You've lived by that.
I have.
It's transcended the track.
Yes. Yes. Shifting my life from athletics all the way leveraging into different platforms in my life, I've learned that people do want a good show.
Yeah.
So give them one. If I step up onto a platform and freeze, or if I get onto the track and freeze, there are a lot of times where that moment I could have missed my shot.
Yeah.
I could have missed my opportunity for greatness. And when you would help me with those principles of give them a show, Yvana, like you got it, you know, and how we coach people now, you got it. I have prepared you. There's nothing else you can do.
There's nothing else that we can do.
Some people will rack their brain over 19 notes that they took to make sure this presentation is perfect when people just want to laugh. They just want to be entertained.
Right.
They don't want to be bored.
Absolutely.
Like it is what it is.
It is what it is.
It is what it is. But I've learned it was very challenging. There were times in my life where I had some challenges, and I ran hurdles for a living, a professional elite athlete. And with my discipline, we had to run over 10 barriers as fast as we could and close the race, right? There was a moment of time where my handicap was not running over the first hurdle
in warm-ups, right?
You know, for just,
it was crazy.
It was
I
weird.
never could understand.
But it was a real mental block that I had to
really
work
was.
through. I got some help with that, and then
did.
I progressed forward, and the rest was history. But I know in someone's life,
Yeah.
there's a hurdle in your life
Yep.
that you are not attacking. You are not getting over it. It has debilitated you. It has limited them. It has shaped their fears.
Yep.
They've developed fears from that one hurdle. And speaking from experience, I know that it's possible for you to get over it. But also, too, it really comes down to what do you believe about yourself?
Yeah.
In the core of who you are. Why is it that you have stopped?
Yeah.
Why is it you can't progress? What is it? You work through what it is. Identify it. Call it out. Sometimes we just need to call things out. This is what I'm going through, and this hurts, or whatever it is. And then know that there's still a race to be won. There's still something that you can continue to do. But if you stop here, you'll never see yourself elevated. You'll never aspire higher. You just won't.
Yeah.
And you can't take the flight of your life because you didn't even get a boarding pass.
Yeah.
You didn't. So being real, it is a matter of time where as a people, we really understand, yes, give yourself grace, be a part of community, but also to challenge your own belief system.
Yeah.
Challenge yourself. If there's a problem with your potential, identify what it is. You know what? That opportunity, I've had clients say this, I was ready for a raise or a bonus, and I didn't even ask for it. I didn't even ask for it because I was afraid that maybe I was making too much already.
Yeah, see?
Nobody asked you to think
Nobody
that
asked
deep. Don't
you
think
that.
for somebody else.
Yep.
If you believe in what you believe in for yourself, claim it, visualize it, then execute it.
Put yourself in propulsive position.
That's it.
We always say, if you're going to do it afraid, and do it right now.
That's right.
I love the phrase that people have kind of taken during this kind of awakening. I think people are starting to express some of their own traumas and be a little bit more forthright with it now.
Right.
It's becoming more common as people talk about mental health and et
Right.
cetera. But one of the things that I had taken from this whole period of time is people are saying what they're really going through or feeling, even if their voice is trembling.
Right.
And that was a very powerful statement that came out of all this, is say it even if your voice is shaking. Even if you're afraid, just step on out there anyway.
Correct.
Even if you're not sure, just step on out there anyway. Even if you don't think you can, just try anyway. Because the least you can do is give yourself the opportunity to try.
That's it.
And if you try, you will be so surprised at how amazing that opportunity was, and that it was made for you.
Exactly.
For you. Because someone else wants to step in that position, and they will, but they can't do what you can do.
That's right.
They won't do it like you.
That's
and
right.
the worst part, though, is you'll know it. If they do step in it, you'll know.
And it'll
like,
hurt.
Dang.
And nobody wants regret.
Nobody
that feeling
wants
of
that.
regret hurts so bad.
Yep.
It hurts really bad.
So I guess if there were 3 things we can say off of this
Mhm.
conversation, 3 takeaways that you can do. The first thing is you have to know that you're not alone,
Yes,
even if you feel alone.
that's right.
And if you feel alone, then you can fix that.
Yeah.
Bring people with you.
In your circle. That's right.
Start incorporating people in your circle and stop being so guarded because you're thinking you're protecting yourself, but really what you're doing is you may be rejecting some of your greatest experiences, opportunities, and relationships. That's the first thing.
Yeah.
Second thing is you have to address your perfectionism.
Yes.
Because nothing in life is perfect.
Right.
You know you're not. And I laugh when people always say, I'm not perfect, but
Mhm,
in their
mhm.
mind, they're like, but I'm perfect. You're not perfect.
Wait a minute.
And you know you're not perfect.
Yes.
So just keep in mind that you don't ever have to be perfect. What you can be practiced.
Yes.
Embrace
Definitely.
practice
Mhm.
because practice will help you perform with more confidence.
That's right. That's right.
But address your perfectionism.
Yes.
And the third thing is put yourself in propulsive positioning.
That's right.
That means you got to put yourself in position to take the shot, even
Yes.
if it's an air ball.
Right.
Just take the shot.
Take the shot.
More people get greater respect because
It's
they're
true.
willing to take the shot.
Confidently.
That's what confidence is. Yeah, I missed it. I missed it good too, but I took that shot.
That's right. I did it afraid.
And you know what? Next one though, I'll kind of bring
I'll
it
nail
back a
it.
little bit. But maybe I'll
Reevaluate.
put some more muscle behind that one. But that's what we want to leave them with.
That's it.
Those are 3 things you can do today, whether it's at work,
Yes.
at home, on the field, or in your business.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter. You do those 3 things, I guarantee you'll have a more positive influence and impact on the people around you.
Yes.
And you'll probably go back home looking at yourself saying, yeah, I gave it my best today. And
That's enough.
is confidence.
Yes.
And that is the power of propulsion. Well, it's been a great show, Coach Yvana.
has.
Great job, great wisdom. You offered
That's
some
it.
incredible insights, and
And
I'm
the
grateful
same.
that you had some stories there. So if you like this, just know that each week we're going to dive a little deeper.
Yes.
We're going to talk about more topics you'll find in the book. In fact, if you like that, please click the link below.
Mhm.
Buy our book
Mhm.
right from our website at aspirehigherlife.com
Mhm.
or Google The Flight of Your Life. Search it in whatever search engine you need to. It'll pop up. Like, subscribe, share. Please leave us some comments because this is going to be an incredible journey for you. And we want to know what this means for your life.
Yeah.
So tell us if we push you and help you propel to your highest level of aspiration. That's what we're here for.
And if you need more encouragement, please feel free to go on our website and book a call with us. We'd love to talk to you and accelerate your life, your business, or your sport.
That's it. Till next time, guys.